Adam Smith believed that human beings were born with an innate urge to trade. To achieve the greatest public good, Smith believed that nations should allow the economic process to operate freely, also popularly known as laissez-faire. One of the most serious challenges to prosperity and peace in a market economy is protectionism. The goal of economic activity or production is to meet the needs of customers. Consumers' ability to choose what to buy and from whom is frequently restricted by producers. This is often known as a monopoly. Politicians are the most susceptible to these cries and use state authority to restrict consumer freedom of choice. Trade increases economic productivity by expanding market size and encouraging the greater division of labor or specialization. Trade-induced greater competition among suppliers results in better goods and services at lower prices. Beyond direct local barter, trade creates experts like bankers and merchants. At this juncture, we require a contract law to explain the nature of the transaction and enforce its terms. But trade also has risks and needs safeguards against opportunistic ill faith. Organizations are not immune to the urge to make their life easier by stifling competitors or consumers. Therefore, a legal framework is necessary to safeguard market integrity and resolve disputes. Smith acknowledged the benefits of organized economic activity, but he also realized that many corporations and firms exhibited rent-seeking behavior. Rent-seeking is not the same as profit-seeking. Rent-seeking is the extraction of advantage and profits through conspiracy, government favor, artificial barriers to competition, etc., etc. This leads to what Smith calls a market failure, or is a condition in which a free market's distribution of commodities and services is not Pareto efficient or efficiently done, resulting in a net loss of economic value. Market failures can be defined as situations in which individuals' pursuit of pure self-interest leads to inefficient outcomes that can be addressed from a social standpoint. The existence of a well-established currency is also very important in a free market economy, as it remains proof of how extensively trade is carried out. Currency enables trade while also allowing individuals to specialize further by lowering transaction costs and allowing for more specific interactions. Trust is, however, essential for the establishment of currency, especially paper currency. Someone must vouch for the currency's reliability. First, the person whose picture or seal appeared on the coins, subsequently, banks and governments. Adam Smith devotes several pages in his book Wealth of Nations to the ever-present problems of criminal counterfeiting and the more serious problem of government currency debasement, which will again eliminate perfect competition and lead to a state of market failure. In the hard sciences, spontaneous order, often known as self-organization, is the development of order from seeming chaos. The term self-organization is often used to describe the establishment of various kinds of social orders in human social networks, from the conduct of a group of self-interested individuals who are not consciously aiming to create order via planning. Many classical liberal thinkers, like Friedrich Hayek, have maintained that market economies are a natural order that represents a more effective use of society resources than any design could produce. They argue that because of the nature of the specific information needed, this spontaneous order is beyond any order a human intellect can devise. Adam Smith called this the invisible hand. It's a metaphor for the invisible forces at work in a free market economy. The best interests of society as a whole are served by individual self-interest and production and consumption freedom. The spontaneous movement of prices and the flow of commerce is caused by the ongoing interplay of individual influences on market supply and demand. This is what Adam Smith believed, or is known as the theory of spontaneous order. The metaphor of the unseen hand encapsulates two key concepts. First, in a free market, voluntary exchanges yield unintended and significant gains. Second, these advantages outweigh the advantages of a controlled, planned economy. Individual consumption decisions are dependent on data created by the market system, which is constantly updated as incomes, preferences, resources, technology, and population shift. Trade collects or generates information on the values placed on things by buyers and sellers, which is then converted into information in the form of relative pricing, which subsequently serves as a signal to help individuals make decisions. Critics of neoclassical economics argue that the concept of the invisible hand, or the market as a self-organized system, is fallacious because individuals in a market economy usually don't have access to complete data and hence cannot be expected to make completely rational decisions in the market. The failure to acknowledge the workings of self-directed systems leads to a lot of confusion in school science courses, and even worse, mistaken opposition to free trade, particularly with underdeveloped countries. Market failures most certainly happen, but they are frequently the result of government intervention. Government action is sometimes necessary to balance social and private expenses, but it is not always good. Prices in a market economy are the accumulation of information obtained when people who possess resources are free to employ their scattered knowledge. Prices enable everyone dealing in a commodity or its replacements to make judgments based on more information than they could independently obtain, information that is statistically unavailable to a centralized authority. Because they do not know all of the variables involved, Hayek claims that meddling from a central authority that impacts pricing would have unanticipated outcomes. The invisible hand permits the market to establish equilibrium without being forced into artificial patterns by the government or other interventions. Oversupply and shortages are avoided when supply and demand naturally reach balance. Self-interest and production and consumption freedom are used to promote society's best interests. The invisible hand is typically thought to be a notion in economics. However, Robert Nozick argues in Anarchy, State, and Utopia that the same concept appears under other names in a variety of other fields of academic debate, most notably Darwinian natural selection. To understand how the market as a self-organized system benefits the economy as a whole, let's take the example of a rural estate that has been partitioned into several rented farms. Each farm was run by an independent farmer who wanted to maximize his output and profits and worked towards it. Farmers who were successful improved their equipment and farming methods. They only sold commodities at a price for which buyers in the market were able to make purchases. The invisible hand attributes the beneficial behavior of human beings acting in their self-interest to serendipity. To increase earnings, efficient manufacturing procedures are used. Low prices are charged in order to increase income by undercutting competitors and gaining market share. To optimize profits, investors invest in the industries that are most urgently required, while withdrawing capital from those that are less efficient in producing value. All of these processes are both dynamic and automatic.